Yes, now you should be able to hear me clearly. Thank you. Welcome. Please excuse our technical difficulties, but thanks to our fantastic team, we are up and running. So welcome. We're happy to have you here. We're happy that you can be a part of this service today. If you were not with us last week, let me just let you know, we had a fantastic week. You can go back and look at it on Wednesday. Jesse and Reverend Miyoki, they did their soul session via Zoom, but it was wonderful and amazing. It is available still on Facebook Live as well as on YouTube now. So you can go into the soul session playlist and view that. I also want to especially thank everyone who came out yesterday to help with that mobile food event. The weather held up. It held up, let me just let you know. Literally, as we were pulling out of the parking lot after we finished, that's when the rain decided to fall from the skies. So we were very blessed. We were very fortunate. A couple little sprinkles, but nothing too major. We were able to help families in need. We were also able to see some good friends that we haven't seen in a while and hang out and be a part of one another. So it was a fantastic time all around. So I just want to thank everyone who came out for that. I also want to let you know, if you are not receiving emails from Creative Life, you need to be, because we have lots of stuff coming up. We will be advertising it in our weekly emails. So that's something you want to see. You want to know what's going on. We will have a link in the chat in just a little bit for you to sign up through Constant Contacts. Hopefully you are already signed up though. Hopefully you're receiving those emails. If you've already signed up and you're still not seeing them, make sure you check your spam or your junk folders, and so they can start going to your inbox. And with that, I just want to again thank all of you for being here, viewing us, participating in services from your home, donating to us, making sure that we stay able to put on the activities that we're able to do. So with that, we come to giving time. I invite each and every one of you to say with me, divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all the good I am and have, all the good I give and receive. I am prosperous now, and so it is. And now, in this moment, take a few deep breaths. Breathe in cool, calming air. Breathe out all that no longer serves you. Allow your body to relax. Allow your mind to be present in this moment. Be here now. Universal love enfolds me. Universal wisdom inspires me. Universal spirit enlightens me. Universal power encircles me. I am one and all is well. As we begin the inner healing process, let me invite you to relax in quiet confidence, opening yourself to the miracle-working higher power. Now symbolize the unity of your thinking and feeling nature by touching your chest with your right hand, and let my words act as your own for your own inner healing, acceptance, and receptivity. I acknowledge that there is a power, intelligence, and wisdom greater than my own. I am in the midst of it, and it is in the midst of me, sensitive and responsive to my every thought, word, action, and feeling. I now make this true for myself by saying aloud, I acknowledge. Acknowledging the higher power working through my life, I admit that I am personally responsible for solving my own problems, while being guided and assisted by something greater than myself. As I am ready to surrender the conflicts of my ego to the wisdom of the infinite presence, I simply speak these words, I surrender. Knowing that forgiveness is the key to unconditional love and the feeling of heaven, I now unconditionally forgive anyone and everyone who has ever injured me in any way, real or imagined. And I now forgive myself for all of my mistaken judgments and their resulting actions. From my deepest level of understanding, I now say, I forgive. Realizing that I continually experience the effects of my own thinking, I now choose to allow this higher power to recreate me deeply, filling my mind with thoughts that are only positive, constructive, loving, and beautiful. I call upon this divine inflow by stating aloud, I choose. I now center upon that one special idea that I'm willing to accept as real for me in this coming week. In visualizing that idea as already acted upon and brought to pass, in seeing my idea become a fact of my experience, I enjoy the happiness and peace of my thought fulfilled and gratefully speak these words, I accept. Knowing that I have an everlasting place in the midst of the power that sustains all creation, as well as the support of all those around me, I allow myself to relax in the peace of fulfillment and gratitude and say, I release. Now, in my mind's eye, I envision the presence of someone near and dear to me. This can be a friend, a family member, a teacher or mentor, someone who has touched my life in deep and loving ways. Someone who may not be physically present in the room with me this morning. I turn toward that image in my mind's eye and say, I am grateful for the good in your life. Now I open my eyes, turn to the world around me, and joyfully speak to anyone physically present in the room or virtually on this broadcast, and share in gratitude and confidence in saying, I am grateful for the good in your life.
I guess today's about gratitude. Well, I learned how to pray. No, that's not true. I learned to pray when I was a little kid. But they didn't really teach me how to pray. I mean, they gave me a format, but there wasn't an emotional flow connected to it. So what we're doing here is talking about a certain kind of prayer this month. We talk about it all the time, but we talk about it kind of, we refer to it, we allude to it. This month, it's right out there in front. These 5 steps of this process called spiritual mind treatment. Today we come to the 4th of these. If you'd like to hear about the other 3, you can go to our Facebook page, and it's on YouTube. And number 4 is gratitude. Number 4 is a feeling of thanksgiving that wells up within us. Next week is going to be release. We let the whole thing go. But I want to bring up gratitude as an action step. We often say when we teach this that if you've done the third step right, the fourth step happens on its own. That is to say, if you've realized the outcome you wish to create in your life, you've gotten suitably excited about it, then a feeling of gratitude comes up within you and you can't help it. If I told you that something wonderful was going to happen to you this afternoon and you believed me and you got really excited about it, well, you'd sit there in that feeling, wouldn't you? You'd be in this state of joyous anticipation. And even in the present moment, it would even be less anticipation than it would be appreciation. You'd be in the spirit of the thing right now as though it were actually happening to you. When there's something fun coming up in your life, you know how you rehearse it over and over and over. And when I get there, we'll do this. And when I get there, we'll do this. And when I get there, this will happen. And this is how, and you live in it and you dwell in it. And people come and tap you on the shoulder and tell you it's time to eat or sleep or something. And you're like, you do that, but you're still in this. You notice it's very much the same dynamic as worry, only with positive intention. Helpful intention. A wonderful teacher of this material back in the day, Dr. Raymond Charles Barker, had terrific sayings, that have been captured. One of these was, if you have been a good worrier, you'll make a great treater. Because it is principally the same sort of blender that you put all your thoughts and feelings into. It's just how you mix this up and whether you're expecting a successful and positive and harmonious outcome in your life. So last week I talked about getting a picture in mind of how you'd like your life to be as though it were already that way and stepping into that picture. And today is about now having done that, the feeling that comes up within you, that is yes. And that is thank you, a feeling of thank you, a feeling of joy, a feeling of having it going effectively and efficiently in your life. This is spiritual practice, and spiritual practice is a piece of our time. I've talked before about the Sabbath consciousness, that if you took, let's say 1/7 of your week and devoted it to spiritual understanding, that's a lot of time, man. I mean, if you or you tithe out of your week, you take 1/10 of your week, or 1/20 of your week, or you whittle it down to an hour a day, or 30 minutes of intense practice a day. Like you read these exercise things and they'll say, here's how much you need, or how many steps you need in it, right? And 10,000 steps, and people are like, that's crazy, I can't do that. Well then, try 3,000. Try one more step today than you took yesterday. Take one more step today than you took yesterday. Well, in whatever time you set aside for your spiritual practice, there are certain suggestions, guidelines that I would offer to you that do not necessarily apply the rest of the time in your life. By which I mean this: you're going to have your feelings. You're going to have your thoughts. You're going to have the full spectrum of human stuff going on from living in this world. I'm not going to tell you never worry about a thing. Of course you're going to worry about stuff. If you've got people you care about in situations that are in change, you're going to be concerned. I'm not going to tell you always look on the bright side, because sometimes you need to acknowledge the darkness. Sometimes you need to acknowledge the trouble, the difficulty, the situation that your life is in or the world is in. I'm not even going to tell you forgive everybody all at one time, because sometimes it's complicated and you've got to work through some things, and it's not just about the forgiveness of the other, it's about coming to understand who you are and how you happen to cross paths with that person, and on and on. So we have the full range of human feeling, but in our spiritual time, in our set-aside time, in our Sabbath time, that's what I'm talking about, to change the rules a little and look on the bright side There's a spiritual teacher who's come out with a new book, and it's in the news today, and he says in this book that you should focus on what you have and not on what you don't have. And he's getting some grief about that online because the man seems to have a lot, because he's written other books and they're very popular and he's quite successful and so on. And people are saying, well, it's easy for him to say because he's popular and successful and well-to-do and so forth, but he speaks the truth on this point. I don't share a full theology with this individual, but so what? But what he's talking about in terms of your spiritual practice is right on. Focus in that set-aside time on what you have. And if you don't actually have it, imagine that you did with such intensity that it feels like you do in that time. Because if you pray the problem, if you go into your spiritual time and you take your problem in there at the level of a problem, and you deal with it at the level of a problem, the way the law works is the problem then expands at the level of a problem. And it's now a multifaceted problem. It's now a many-headed problem. It's like a hydra of a problem, you know? But if you go into the process with the solution in mind that you wish to create, the law takes that up. And the law has no reliance on what's come before. It is not based on precedent. It doesn't say, well, you know, last time you tried this, things didn't work out too well. No, every day is a new day for spiritual law. So we do focus in our spiritual work on how we would have it be if we could have it be any way at all. And if you don't know how you'd like to have it be, how would you feel if you did? How would you feel? Go to a time. Go to a time in your life when everything was working. There has been such a time. Or if not everything, at least in the area about which you're treating, you know? Like if it's, I don't know, loneliness or something, well, think of a time when you had friends. Think of a time when you had people around you. You want to throw another curve here? This happens sometimes. I say that, people say, I've never had that. I've never felt loved my entire life. And my heart goes out to you, but all is not lost. It's not like, well, this process works for everybody on earth but you. No. Somebody has felt loved. And they share the same, shall we call it, emotional data bank as you do. And so you can go into that. You can read stories about people who've been loved. You can watch television shows about people who've been loved. And you can say, that's for me. That's for me. I don't know exactly what that's like because I've never been there. But you know, anywhere you want to go in life, you've never been there. And even if you go back to the same place twice or 1,000 times, you've never been there at the level that you're there now. You know what I mean? It's like your favorite restaurant or your favorite place to travel to. Every time you walk in the door, you're a different person because you've had a new set of experiences there. And the stuff that's really remarkable for you that you wish to create in your life, well, you've never been there. And you know you've never been there. And maybe nobody's been there. Which brings me to the Yurchenko. The double Yurchenko Pike vault. A couple of you got an email from me last night with a little video of this in there, and you probably wondered why I attached no comment. And I sent it. I sent it actually meaning to comment, and it went, you know. And it's something that you may want to put the link to in the Facebook thing this morning. The double Yurchenko Pike vault is something that no one had done. No woman had done it. No woman gymnast had done it. No woman gymnast had even attempted it in competition, but Simone Biles did. One of our local heroes, Simone Biles. 2 days ago, I think it was. After 19 months off, 19 months since she last competed, she came out, and if you don't know what the Yurchenko double Pike vault is and why would you? Watch this little clip, this 10, 15-second clip of her doing this thing. And you will say to yourself, how is it possible for a human to do that? How is it possible? And I bring her up not only because she's remarkable and because she did this thing, and it's worthy of praise. But it's also applicable to all of us. Now, I'm not interested personally in being a gymnast. That ship has sailed, but even when it hadn't, I was, you know. But what I do know and can do is be better at who I am. And I can follow a path like hers, which is in some respects anyway this. She broke it down. She broke it down. There are multiple moves involved in this thing. She broke it down. When Mel and Kenzie were learning this song with Jeffrey, they were rehearsing and so on, they broke it down. They took it line by line, they took it note by note. They determined where to do melody, where to do harmony, you know. You break it down. When you have a task, this is something they tell you in corporate and all different environments. When you have something that you want to do, it looks overwhelming to you when you take the whole thing in one bite. Let's clean the whole house. Overwhelming. We sit down. You know, let's rebuild our lives. Let's change everything. Start of a new year. People make all these resolutions. I'm going to quit this and stop that and start this and do all of, and they have 20 different things going on to completely restructure themselves, and they collapse under the weight of it. Change one thing, and the second thing becomes easier, and the third thing becomes easier, and pretty soon you're a change machine. Pretty soon you're just moving along, and it's like, yeah, this is natural for me to build this new information into my life. What is it that you want to do? What is it that you want to create in this life? You have some sense of that. It's the thing that terrifies you. It's the thing that's typically under most everything else. Well, I could do this or I could do that. Yeah, but where's all this heading? Well, it's scary, because it pushes it all out there. And I read something this week that says, this is kind of on the nose, but there it is. It said, you can either risk judgment by doing a thing, or remain unknown for not doing it. And a lot of people remain unknown who could try and perhaps succeed at the Yurchenko double vault. Every time something like this gets reported in the world of sport, because that's where often it comes from, because if somebody learns something else, it's not as newsworthy, you know, it's not what do you call it, clickbait. But sports things are, you know, but every time somebody does something like this, and I remember talking about this some years ago when the time in the mile was broken. You know, every time somebody does this, it's like a month later somebody else does it. The bar is raised and others cross the bar. I'm telling you, there's one mind, and we're all in it. And so, by virtue of what Simone Biles did, it's easier now for every gymnast on earth to accomplish this thing. Because a rising tide lifts all boats. The consciousness is lifted. When we say lifted consciousness, it's not just all about like peace and goodwill and harmony. It's about that too, but it's also about scores in a gymnastic event, you know? It's about everything. It's about every last thing. So in our spiritual work, go to the place where nothing has ever been wrong, how you would have it be if you would have it be any way at all, and stand there in the feeling and let that feeling wash over you. And information will come to you about what to do next to perfect the thing that you're enjoying doing. I was reading a while back about a musician of my generation who 60 or so years ago got started, you know, and is still out there performing. And he had an instrument that he picked up, and he got really good at it and formed a band, and they became famous. He toured for years. Well, along the way, he had a daughter. Daughter grew up. I guess she's probably now in her 40s. You know, the daughter grew up. She picked up the same instrument. The fellow I'm talking about was self-taught. He just he liked the sound of this thing. And so he started playing it. He figured out how to do it. His daughter, picking up the same instrument, went to conservatory, learned the classical manner, playing the same instrument, and eventually couldn't contain herself anymore and went to her dad and said, "Dad, you've been doing it all wrong." Okay? And he said, instead of saying to her, "Daughter, I'm rich and famous now, and who do you think you're talking to?" Or otherwise blowing her off in some way, even saying self-deprecatingly. He didn't have to be a jerk about it, but even self-deprecatingly, you could say, "Well, I'm too old to learn a new way to do stuff. I've been doing it all this time. I'm on the downside of my career. Let me just..." He said, "No, teach me." So she did. And he changed how he played the instrument. He relearned how to play the instrument. You know what he found? There were shortcuts that he never knew about that were available in the conservatory training. Now, he's not wrong for how he did it. His daughter wasn't making him wrong. Critics aren't making him wrong. He wasn't wrong for how he did it the first time out. He didn't want to take the time. He was young, he this and that, and it's like, and he made a good sound. He made a good sound that people enjoyed and paid money to come here and bought the albums and all the rest of this stuff. He's not wrong, but he stayed open. And new information came to him. New information is always coming to us. And that's why I say, I want this information to be like the conservatory training in prayer. This is a house of prayer. This place that we have here called Creative Life. This is a house of prayer. I've told you a story before about how years ago, the predecessor organization to our national organization, which at the time was called the United Church of Religious Science, they had a consulting team that went around and did regional trainings. This is back in the mid-90s, early to mid-90s. And we were the Texas location, and they came in, and these two guys, and they had all kind of demographics and all kinds of information, and we sat there and took it all down, and it was useful. But they told us coming in, they said, we work with multiple religious organizations across the ideological spectrum, from the very conservative and fundamentalist and all the way out to you people. It's like, okay. And they said, and we mean this, and we don't say this to all the groups. Some are good at food. Some are good at social justice. Like that's really, the apex of their service in the world. Some are really good about taking care of each other. In terms of like pastoral care and all. I said, you've got it going on in these different areas, but they're not your specialty. Your specialty is prayer. We have never met a group of people who pray like you people do. You pray coming up, you pray going down, you pray at the start, pray at the finish, pray in the middle, pray. And this was appropriate because this was what our founder really had in mind. He didn't have the intention, as you know, to create a worldwide organization with millions and millions of people all obediently filing into centers and doing what they do. No, he wanted to teach a technology of prayer that's heartfelt and individual, so that if you're a Methodist or a Baptist or a Jew or a Muslim or an agnostic, or you're not sure who you are, you haven't figured it out, and all the other paths on earth, you could find something useful and bring it into your prayer life. It's conservatory training in prayer. Next week, what I'm going to take you through, 2, 3 maybe, so-called standard prayers that you've heard used in the world. And we're going to hold them up like so, and we're going to put a template over them that's these 5 steps to chart an emotional flow through these 5 steps, but using those words in those prayers. Because religious scientists use the words that we use, But you don't have to. And if you've been praying all along and getting results, like the rock star had been playing his flute, as it was, all along and getting results, then maybe what would be useful to you is to know why. Why it was exactly. How it is exactly. What it is I'm doing. What did I do there? What did I do there in this particular consciousness of prayer that caused me to turn a corner and walk right into my good? What was I doing? You ever do that in your life? Look and see, wow, that really worked out. What did I say? You know? What's the hack here? Well, it's what you bring to the table in terms of expectation. There is one mind. That mind is source. That mind is all the mind there is. That mind is your mind right now. And so in the consciousness and the expectancy of good, it's easy to feel grateful. It's easy to sing about gratitude then and mean it, feel it deeply. And it's easy to go through this life looking at your world and seeing what you have and celebrating what you have and collaboratively looking at the world we share and seeing what we have, and focusing on that. And yesterday we had food, because we are good at food. We're good at food in a different way than the two guys who were consultants years ago meant it. We're also good at that, by the way, you know, potlucks and community meals that we share. We're very good at that. We're especially good at making sure that we do what we can to feed our neighbors, And when we're feeding our neighbors, it's not an us and them. Our neighbors really kind of, they morph from being our neighbors into being us. And we think to ourselves, what if this were me? Maybe it has been you. What if this were me and I didn't have enough to eat and I didn't know where to go and get it? And I'm happen to be driving by this school and there's these people in this parking lot and they're giving it away to me, no questions asked, and they're being nice to me and they're treating me with respect and dignity. And they're even out here and it looks like it might rain, but it didn't, you know? So all praise to them. That's how we bless the world. That's how we fall in love with one another as a human family. And we realize that it's all, like I said last week, a collaborative effort. Whatever it is you seek in your life, somebody else is going to be involved. Or animals are going to be involved, or nature's going to be involved. I mean, stuff does not literally just drop out of the sky, unless I guess it does. And if it does, it dropped from somewhere else, you know? It's like it's part of the natural process. When we were joking yesterday, there was a lot of bread. We had a lot of bread. We had loaves and loaves of bread. And someone made sort of the obvious observation, now we need fish. now we need fish. Well, where did the bread come from? The fish would have come from the same place the bread did. We can trace the process of the bread, how it got on the truck it was on, and where it was before that, and where it was before that, all the way back to the bakery. And in the scriptural account of the loaves and fishes, you can't trace it the same way, but I promise you there was a chain there, a passage, that even if it came out of thin air, there was something on the other side of thin air with which we are collaborating. Always, 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 it is a participatory process, how we create our good. So I invite you this week to just, don't make yourself crazy, don't try to do it all at once, but a little bit of gratitude here and there. Oh, it's Monday. There's songs about Mondays. Tomorrow, you may be watching this on Monday when you get around to it. You know, there's a whole liturgy around Mondays, and it's Monday, and there are all these things sitting on your desk, literally or figuratively, that you left Friday. You know, you look at all the. What am I going to do? Somewhere in here, there's a gift. Somewhere in here, there's something I can feel grateful for. I'm grateful for my problems, because they're teaching me how to be better at what I do. And when you do this, magic happens. Magic happens, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that more next week and going on into June, about how when you believe in magic, you're never alone. When you believe in magic, you're never without power in some way. So, thank you for your kind attention and watching. And as Danielle said in the announcements, please take the time to watch our conversation with Miyoke Shonin, Nichiren Shu Bishop of North America, this past Wednesday. It was fantastic. And we have many more similar events in the pipeline now. So thank you again. Have a wonderful Sunday. Here come Melody and Kenzie, and Reverend Lisa will close us as she does at the end with a spiritual mind treatment so you can hear a way that it can sound. All right?
So I want to brag on our musicians just a little bit, because you got to understand, they got a tough job. Jesse throws out these titles, and then our musicians get to figure out, well, okay, what music, what songs, what can I do that'll add to the message? I took a class called Music in Church, and that was the point of the class, is you want your music to accent your message. And I'm going to guess that today was probably one of the easiest times that they had, because, I mean, gratitude to the left of me, gratitude to the right of me, and then thank you. It's like today, the music, it was easy to line up, and they did a beautiful job. So if you're watching this on YouTube, go check it out on Facebook, because the songs are really amazing. And they always do an amazing job. They always do an amazing job. Don't even think, because we got the best. We got the best. But yeah, gratitude. So, and it is gratitude. And sometimes when we do these treatments, we say, I'm grateful for, and that's it. It's just that one step, because we've already built that feeling up. And then sometimes, if we're working on something that's really close to our heart, that gratitude step is like really long, because we're so grateful that we have the ability to do this. And sometimes, if the only prayer that we say is thank you, it's enough. Meister Eckhart. So let's see how long my gratitude step is today. I'm not a big wordy person until I am. So it's spring, although we are fast moving into summer here. It's been raining for the last week. Everything is green and enjoying the rain. And thankfully, the rain has not been overwhelming. But we've gotten what we've needed. So in that knowing of getting what we've needed, let's know that there is one life, one power, one presence, one love. And it is in that power, in that presence, in that love that I move, that I live, that I have my being. And it is in that same power and presence and love that everyone else lives and moves and has their being. There is truly one source of all. And that source flows through each and every one of us. And it flows through each and every one of us to the degree that we allow. And so I'm knowing today that each and every one of us sit up a little straighter and feel that presence a little deeper, and know that presence at the center of us, that presence that infuses every single cell of our body, that we know it a little closer. That our feelings run deeper. That our sensations open up. That presence, which is all we are, makes itself known in ways that we had not been open to before. That God, the Spirit, the quantum field, the love, the gratitude fills us up in a way we hadn't been aware of before. And as it fills us up, and we recognize the presence flowing through us, we let it flow out, because we recognize that where it is coming from is inexhaustible, and where it is going to is inexhaustible. And so we have not only enough to share, but more than enough to share. That we don't have to hold back on this power, on this presence, on this love. Because it is flowing through us at a rate that is both safe and comfortable, that is moving, that is changing, that is settling around us, that is clearing the waters around us, that is clearing our consciousness, and letting the love flow through so that it shines out of us in the smallest gestures, in the smallest words, and in the biggest words. And I know this with all of the gratitude in my being, because that is all I am. I am gratitude. Because gratitude is another word for love. And I know this gratitude in me. And I know this gratitude in you. And I know this gratitude for this place, for this teaching, for these people, for our senior minister, for our musicians, for all of the people that have made this possible for the last 14 months. That is gratitude. And I vibrate with gratitude. I sing with gratitude. I walk with gratitude. And I shine with gratitude. And I see your gratitude shining back at me. And I know this. And then I let go. And then I let go. Because even as I fall into that gratitude, it is truly a soft place to fall. And I release. And know that this is so. It has been, it will be, it is now. And so it is.
Say with me now, something wonderful is happening through me.
Something wonderful is happening through me.
I feel it in my body.
I feel it in my
I
body.
feel it in my mind.
I feel it in my mind.
I feel it in everything I am.
I feel it in everything I am.
I choose it.
I choose
I
it.
trust it.
I trust it.
I use it.
I use
And
it.
I love it.
And I love it.
So it is.
And so it is.